What's up, everybody? We've got an absolutely jammed episode of Carving Up Live on tap for you guys on this Friday night. Going to start with the New England Patriots, a 27-14 win. Thanks, Jets, for covering the plus 13.5, by the way. But New England, let's just keep it a buck. They've won 8 in a row. They are going to be the 1 seed in the AFC, and Drake Maye firmly in the MVP discussion. Getting to why New England's going to be the 1 seed in just a few minutes. Also talk about Steph Curry, my guy. Not just the fact that he, of course, scored 46 points in a big-time game against the San Antonio Spurs, but more importantly, at least long-term at least, for him, leaves Under Armour. Him and Under Armour have broken ties. What does this mean for Steph Curry in the future as far as shoe partnerships? Also maybe get into the fact that Cal Raleigh of the Seattle Mariners absolutely robbed of MVP by the voters, giving it to Aaron Judge once again. Discuss that. Hannah Cummings, my former co-worker at Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run at the Disney College Program and graphic design major at Oakland University. She's going to be stopping by in a half hour for us to rank our top NFL logos, top to bottom, the best and worst of the NFL logos. Bellevue, Tennessee trying to get a win against New Mexico State on homecoming. And at the end of today's show, Week 11 NFL predictions. My episode of the week, and I love this one. Bryson's Bleak Bet. I never have confidence in Bryson's Bleak Bet. And of course, my all-time favorite segment, If I Were a Bettin Man. So on a Friday, Carving Up is absolutely jam-packed. So let's drop the beat, baby. Here we go. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Carving It Up Live right here on YouTube as well as on Facebook, IG, X, and on Twitch. I am Bryson Carver. It is great to be with you on a Friday. As you heard in the open there, tons to get into in the world of sports. And like I said, I'll even throw in, it wasn't officially planned going into the show, but I think we'll have a little bit of time prior to the NFL logo ranking segment, which you'll definitely want to stay tuned for. Shout out to Hannah Cummings. She'll stop by in a half hour to do NFL rankings. But listen, Shohei Ohtani becoming a 4-time MVP, no surprise to any of us. Cal Raleigh was robbed. Are you kidding me? Respect to Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is the man. Okay, I could be a Red Sox fan and say Aaron Judge is great, and he showed up in the playoffs for the first time in his career. Cal Raleigh, come on, man. Big dumper, deserved MVP. But I'll talk about that in about 15 minutes or so. But let's talk about the New England Patriots right off the bat. But first, I will repeat exactly what I said on Monday's show. It must be a really great life being a Patriots fan. You know, I mean, especially if you're like a Gen Z Patriots fan and you went through the better part of 20 years of your life and you got the greatest quarterback ever and you're winning the playoffs every year. And your worst case scenario from 2011 to 2018 is a loss in the AFC Championship. That is most teams' dream scenario. As a Cowboys fan, they give anything to have that situation happen. AFC Championship game every year, 6 Super Bowls in 9 appearances, greatest quarterback ever. Some think the greatest coach ever, great defenses, Gronk and Edelman and Kraft, everything working out. Then Belichick versus Brady out, then you're mid for 5 years. Actually, not mid, terrible for 5 years. And then you're back on the mountaintop as the kings of the AFC, as we sit here today in terms of record. They're 9-2. So whether we want to accept it or not, this is the case. We're in week 11, and I think I'll just go ahead and call it now. Knock on wood that Drake Maye stays healthy. Obviously, we all want to see that. The Patriots are going to be the 1 seed. Like, it's just how it's going to be. They're going to be the 1 seed. It's not going to be Denver. You'll hear my predictions for Denver and Kansas City. KC's going to run them down for the division. I've said that for weeks. Indianapolis could, in theory. I don't trust Daniel Jones as much as I trust Drake Maye, even though, ironically, Daniel Jones has a playoff win on his resume. Drake Maye too young to have that on his resume thus far. We'll see what he does in the postseason this year. And then, obviously, AFC North winner, forget about it. Like, whether it's Pittsburgh or Baltimore, whoever wins that division is going to be the 4 seed and play whoever's second place in all likelihood in the AFC West, be it the Chargers, Chiefs, Broncos, whoever that is that they're going to get a first-round bye, and the road to Super Bowl 60 in the AFC is going to run through Kansas City, Missouri. Or Kansas City, Missouri. He's going to run through Foxborough, Massachusetts. My bad. I was thinking about the Chiefs because I think the Chiefs are going to face the Patriots in an AFC title game. And who knows what will happen. So I think what you saw last night, Jets-Patriots. So the Jets score in their first drive, as I thought they would when I picked them to cover before the game on Wednesday's show, is, yeah, they come out, play okay. They scored a first drive. As we know, any half-decent coaching staff could put together a first good 15 plays. Right? Look, what separated Robin Williams, I've said this on the show, what separates Robin Williams from the all-time great comedians, even the all-time greats, is Robin Williams' first 10, 15, 20 minutes of a skit, totally pre-planned. Totally worked on that beforehand, tried it in comedy clubs, and after the opening skit, it's all improvisation from there. That's what made Robin Williams, Robin Williams. Is that with a half-decent, any great coach Any half decent coach can have a good first 15 plays. Beyond that, then what do you do? Do you make adjustments? Like in the case of a comedian, feel out the crowd. Where are they at? How are these jokes landing? Is it kind of like an Oscar-like crowd where it's okay, don't want to step on anybody's toes too much here? Or is it kind of a loose, hey, we're all good. We're having fun tonight. You do your thing on a Friday night at a comedy club. Different audiences, different atmospheres. And if you're an NFL coach, how is the game being felt out? Is it played in a dome? Is it playing outside in cold weather, warm weather, raining, snowing? How's the defense? How is your offense playing? How much do you trust your defense? Vice versa. You take all of those things into account. So the Jets doing what they did in the opening drive, I'm not terribly shocked. The Patriots dominated from there. And what do you think you saw from Drake Maye? Because we know he's had a fantastic season. In fact, I actually saw a stat from Doug Clawson. I've referenced Doug Clawson a number of times on the show. Definitely give him a follow on X if you're on X, because he's a great information guy. He said that Drake Maye, this is from Doug Clawson, Drake Maye has 200-plus passing yards in every single game this season. He has a TD-INT ratio of at least 1 in every game this season. These are the only quarterbacks to do that in an 11 straight games to start a season all time. Here are the names. So let's repeat that. 200 pass yards in every single game, TD to INT ratio of at least 1 in every game through 11 games to start a season. The quarterbacks to do that prior to Drake Maye: Brady, another great Patriots quarterback, say the least; Mahomes, Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Dan Marino. Outside of Rivers and Matt Ryan, Rivers was probably in the Hall of Fame. Matt Ryan, I'm not sure. The rest, no question, are either in the Hall of Fame or are going to be. We talk about his accuracy. We talk about his efficiency. The thing that Drake Maye, to me, has not gotten enough credit for that I think a lot of people, because the fact of the matter is the Patriots haven't played a ton of big national TV games. They've played, I think, 2 primetime games this season. Buffalo in that Sunday night game back in week 5, and then last night against the Jets. What the whole country got to see that I've been talking about in this show for weeks, heck, I've been talking about Drake Maye since North Carolina, is the ability to make plays outside of the pocket. That pass he made during the game where he's rolling to his right, it looks like, okay, he's getting forced to the sideline, probably just going to chuck it out of bounds, live to see another play. And at the last second, little push pass. It's like, oh boy, that was a little Mahomes, Josh Allen type of thing. Like that's the kind of athletic traits that we see from guys like that. Even Lamar from time to time. Be on the run, be uncomfortable, and then last second find a guy. Even there are a few times where Drake Maye's rolling to his right and throwing across his body, which is the ultimate no-no. You tell every quarterback coming up in Pop Warner, high school, football, college, don't ever throw across your body on the far side of the field. Drake Maye, because of his arm talent and his mobility, can get away with that. And you're playing the Jets defense. All those things come into the equation, is that you are seeing just a rapid growth from year 2. And this is what we see, folks, from all of the great quarterbacks in this league, is that year 2 jump. You saw it from Mahomes. Technically, his second year was his first year as a starter. But if you want to say his second year as a starter, he went Super Bowl MVP. We saw that leap into, okay, that's worst case, the second best quarterback in football, maybe the best, because Brady was still playing. You talk about a guy like Josh Allen, second full year as a starter, he finishes second for MVP. Lamar Jackson, second year as a starter, he wins MVP. Even talking about guys like a Jalen Hurts, second full year as a starter, almost wins MVP, gets Philadelphia to the Super Bowl. Like, you want to see that year 2 jump from all of the great quarterback, all of the top 3, or at least first round quarterback prospects that we see in this league, and you're seeing it from him. And I think, Dan Orlovsky did a list on First Take the other day where he ranked his top 5 quarterbacks drafted since 2020, and he put Drake Maye number 1. I agree. I agree. I know it's early. I get it. Justin Herbert has very similar athletic gifts. He's not quite as athletic as Drake Maye, who comes from an athletic family. His older brother, was it Luke Maye? I forget who it was. Played for North Carolina, hit a big shot in an NCAA tournament game to beat Kentucky. Like, he comes from an athletic family. But Justin Herbert, biggest games, that Week 17 or Week 18 matchup against the Raiders in 21, blowing a 27-0 lead to the Jags. Being a favorite on the road last year, gets a battered Houston team and throwing 4 picks, I think it was. Not sure. Jaden Daniels, loved him last year, but because of his slight frame, he struggles to stay healthy. Drake Maye doesn't have to worry about that. Caleb Williams, I wholeheartedly believe in, and I gave him a lot of props this past week. He's obviously not on the level of Drake Maye quite yet. Just go up and down the list of guys draft. Joe Burrow, great, can't stay healthy. If you had to take any quarterback drafted since 2020 for the next 10 years, I think Drake Maye would be your first pick. And listen, we haven't seen him in a playoff game yet. We're going to get to see that this year, in all likelihood, as the number 1 seed. That's a lot of pressure. You go from 4 wins, you hire Mike Vrabel, maybe not a ton of expectations. Maybe you make the playoffs, maybe you don't too. Oh, there are actually people that are expecting you to host the AFC Championship game at Gillette Stadium. That's a whole different ballgame. But Drake Maye seems like the type of kid, good head on his shoulders. And you got to give credit to Mike Vrabel too, is that there is no sport. I've talked about this many times in the show. There is no sport, at least that we have in America, where coaching makes more of an impact. There just isn't. And what Vrabel has done in this spot in New England to come in, by the way, we talk about the stink of Belichick just kind of permeating over the Patriots franchise for the last few years. The fact that he pushed the greatest quarterback ever out the door, botched numerous drafts before and after, and frankly was behind the times in terms of his schemes, philosophies, the whole bit. Then you have a Belichick protege, Jerome Mayo. Shout out to Jerome Mayo. It's Tennessee ball. Love Jerome Mayo, but that didn't work either. He kind of tried to instill a similar sort of Belichickian type of environment in New England. And Mike Vrabel is the perfect defensive coach. I mean, the perfect. He breaks free from every single rule that I've said on my show about, probably smarter to go in the direction of an offensive coach. Vrabel breaks that mold. A, he hires great staffs, Josh McDaniels. B, Vrabel is, not to say all defensive coaches are like Belichick in that they're like, hey, system's more important than the players, not having much relationship with their players, but sometimes it can go into that territory. Vrabel coaches his guys hard, loves his guys. I mean, you see videos on the Patriots social media, guys go in the locker room, dapping up every single player as they go to the locker room. Belichick would never do that. A lot of defensive coaches, that's just not in their DNA. It's not how they're built. And thirdly, something that Vrabel has over every defensive coach and a lot of offensive coaches, manipulating the clock. I talked about this in the Tampa Bay game. Just brilliant stuff. Manipulating the clock. Using analytics, but analytics doesn't make every single decision. See, some offensive coaches, it's all analytics. A lot of defensive coaches, no analytics. Vrabel kind of toes that line, so to speak. Like, we are idiots if we don't use them. This is extra information to make our job slightly easier. But also, that I'm a football coach. I played and won Super Bowls with New England back in the day. I know how to coach. Lead me to my own decisions with this information. And so, just an unbelievable job by Vrabel. They're going to be the number 1 seed. I mean, look at their schedule from here on out. Part of the reason I say that is not just because they're great on both sides of the ball, top 10 on both sides of the ball, but from here on out, road date at Cincinnati on extra rest, obviously. Bengals are a high-functioning offense. Who knows what could happen? New England should win that game. They're favored by 5.5 at Cincinnati. Home game against the Giants. Giants are frisky, but that's a home game at New England. They should win. Bills at home. Where's Buffalo at in the AFC East? If they were in striking distance, okay, maybe I have a different conversation. If not, different story. The Baltimore Ravens. At the Ravens, I think they lose that game because I think Baltimore's going to get on kind of a roll. It's just a matter of whether my Steelers can hold them off. At the Jets, that's a win. Dolphins at home, that's a win. At this point, I would be disappointed if the Patriots finish less than 13-4. And at this point, that will get them the 1 seed. Because Kansas City could run down the Broncos for the AFC West. Likelihood is they won't be able to go 13-4 and tie the Patriots. And as for the Colts, I don't know. Do we think Indianapolis is going 13-4 necessarily? Do we think they couldn't slip up at Jacksonville, which they do every year? That they couldn't lose to a Kansas City next week? So that probably takes the Colts off the table. And again, I'm saying at worst, 13-4 for New England. Again, it must be nice. What is it, the song in Hamilton? It must be nice to have Washington on your side. It must be nice to be a Patriots fan. Everything, at least in the 21st century, things just happen to break in your favor. But good management, awesome coach, top 10 level coach, Mike Vrabel, and let's be honest, a top 10 quarterback in Drake Maye. Whether he's top 5, I need to see a little bit more before I put him into that echelon, but he's undoubtedly top 10. You cannot name 10 quarterbacks better than Drake Maye today. Okay, let's shift to the NBA for a second. Because I saw this news. I actually got out of my last class yesterday in late afternoon. Look at my phone. I'm like, oh, it's kind of surprising. Is that Steph Curry is leaving Under Armour. And so Steph Curry's been with Under Armour for the better part, or less just the better part, over a decade. After famously, and I told the story on Wednesday's show with the Nico Harrison firing, is that when Steph Curry started his career at Nike, and that was kind of right as Steph was starting to break into stardom. He had the 54-point game at Madison Square Garden. He had led the Warriors to a first-round series win over the Nuggets. It was kind of the big upset before they lost to San Antonio in round 2. Well, Steph Curry's up for a contract extension with Nike. He goes to Nike headquarters. Nico Harrison works there. I think Del Curry might have been with Steph for this meeting. Del Curry, Steph's dad. They played this like hype video, this like promo videos, like to reel Steph back in, this recruiting pitch. And it's Steph Curry, all these highlights. He's breaking people's ankles. He's hitting shots. He's firing up the fan base. You know, the whole thing. At the very end of the commercial, or the very end of the marketing campaign, welcome to Nike, Kevin Durant. And it was at that moment, Steph and Dell, I'm sure they kind of looked at each other like, you've got to be kidding me. And that was it for Steph. And Nike, he went to Under Armour, and the rest is history. He had a lot of success there. He has been Under Armour as far as their basketball merchandise, as far as not their merchandise, as far as their basketball shoes. Leaving Under Armour now. Curry brand is going to be its own thing. So he's got the copyright. He's got all the merchandise. The Curry brand, that is Steph's thing now. And there's been a lot of speculation on, could he go back to Nike? Then they can form like a big three, sort of, at least the big three of the OG era of LeBron, KD, and Steph. Because we know Team USA, they're with Nike. Some say Nike has had some decisions in leaving certain guys off of Team USA. Jaylen Brown, we've seen that come into the equation. There's some people saying, oh, could he go to Adidas? I doubt it. Puma, maybe a dark horse, but I doubt that as well. New Balance, I highly doubt that one. Because right now, Kawhi Leonard's their signature basketball player, and some off-court stuff, I would say, Steph wants to stay away from. What I think Steph Curry is going to do, matter of fact, what I would almost be shocked if Steph Curry doesn't do, is go in the direction, God rest his soul, that the late great Kobe Bryant was going to go through. Is that we think of Kobe and starts with Adidas, then goes to Nike, builds to me, I know folks label Jordan as like kind of the king of shoes. By the way, as they should. The Jordan 1's classic. Jordan from there, we know he's the king in the sneaker game. Kobe, to me, is my second favorite all-time basketball sneaker. No question about it. The Grinch shoes that he wore back in the day on Christmas, I forgot what year that was. Was that like, God, 09, 2010, 20? It feels like it was somewhere in that time. The green Grinch shoes, my all-time favorite Kobe's. Kobe's shoes, classic. Until he, of course, we know what happened to Kobe. God rest his soul. He was going to leave Nike and just have the Kobe shoe be its own thing, be its own brand. I think Steph's going to go in that direction. I think he's going to say, hey, name recognition, Steph Curry. Maybe we could sign some future NBA, NBA draft prospects to the Curry brand. Let's build ourselves into a marketable enough product, a marketable enough, organization and company to where some of the young up-and-coming stars in future NBA drafts, they'll have to decide between Nike, Adidas, maybe Under Armour, although I think Under Armour is going to take a bit of a dive now that Steph Curry's gone because he was on Under Armour for their basketball department. Puma, New Balance, you have it, and Curry brand. Jordan, obviously, and Curry brand. I think Steph's the type, he's an entrepreneur, very successful off the court. I think he's got a whiskey business. Obviously, he's actually won an Oscar with Shaquille O'Neal back in 2022, I think it was, for the Queen of Basketball, which I highly recommend. Great documentary, great basketball historical documentary that Shaq and Steph Curry were a part of, executive producing. Steph's had a very successful off-court life. I think he wants this to be the next kind of feather in his cap. So, listen, I'm curious to see what he does. Shams reported as, okay, Steph's a sneaker free agent. Not necessarily. Because now that Curry brand is all his, now that the agreement between him and Under Armour states as much, I think he's going to go in that direction. He's going to say, I'm going to make Curry brand as big as it can possibly be. And so I'm curious to see how it goes because it's a bold move, no question. And, it's something that I don't think LeBron's necessarily going to try it because LeBron's got the lifetime contract with Nike. LeBron's been with Nike since he was in high school, coming into the NBA. And it's funny. There's a great story about, when LeBron was, there's a book by Jeff Benedict. It's it's called LeBron. It's a fantastic read. Benedict's a phenomenal author. And it talks about how Sonny Vaccaro, who was the one, obviously, who discovered Jordan, and they made a whole movie about it. And Sonny Vaccaro's at Adidas. And he's at a LeBron high school game. I'm pretty sure, it was St. Vincent St. Mary high school game. And early on, everyone's hyping up. It's like, Sonny, this guy's going to be the next Jordan, all this thing. He sits down in the gym, watches LeBron play, leaves in the first or second quarter. People are like, oh, did he not like what he saw? And I think it was his wife or somebody, walked up to him like, what's wrong? And they're like, we need to sign this. I've seen enough. We need to sign this kid. He'd seen all he needed to see. And of course, there's a negotiation. It's a long story. LeBron ends up with Nike, and the rest is history in that regard. But yeah, I'm pulling for Steph. I hope he is able to, build the Curry brand into a huge enterprise. And also Steph dropping 46 points against the San Antonio Spurs Wednesday night. I wasn't going to do a Steph Curry segment and not bring that up. Very, very impressive. Goes for 22 in the third quarter alone. Helps the Warriors win a really, really important game after they just got clobbered by OKC on Tuesday. Then again, OKC's clobbering everybody without Jalen Williams. Unbelievable stuff. Quickly before we go to break, Hannah Cummings coming up in a few minutes to do NFL logo rankings. You're going to really, really enjoy this segment. Awards were announced last night in Major League Baseball, most notably MVP. So in the National League, no surprise whatsoever, Shohei Ohtani doesn't just win MVP, he wins unanimous MVP. That is 4 MVP awards for one Shohei Ohtani. By the way, this is his 8th year in Major League Baseball. He's won MVP half of those seasons. So now becomes the only guy who's ever won 4 more, the great Barry Bonds, who has 7. So whether Shohei will catch him, only time will tell, but I put on my IG stories last night, stand by it wholeheartedly. Those are the 2 best baseball players of all time. Greatest, that's a different story. Bonds has an argument for greatest, by the way. Shohei could, I think we need to see a little bit more into putting him in that upper echelon of guys. But as far as best, most gifted, those are the 2 best. No question about it. Bonds was a Hall of Famer pre-steroids, which is why it's ridiculous that he's not in the Hall of Fame. And I will die on that hill. Shohei Ohtani, it's kind of self-explanatory. I mean, it is. The guy is an ace of a pitcher. He is the best power hitter in baseball outside of Aaron Judge. Last year, he stole 50 bases, which I think was second to Ellie De La Cruz, who stole like 70-something. I mean, the guy is an athletic freak. Game 4 of the NLCS against the Milwaukee Brewers. Remember, he strikes out 10, hits 3 home runs. That's Shohei Ohtani in a nutshell. That's who he is. And so he's no doubt MVP. And it's just a matter of next year. Okay, can Juan Soto, who had a great season in his own right, can he catch him? Can somebody else catch him? I don't see it anytime soon. This guy's in his prime. By the way, next year, he's going to be added benefit of a whole season, knock on wood, he's healthy, a whole season of pitching. Whereas his first year in LA, did throw 1 pitch at all, still won MVP because he had a 50-50 season. And then this year, pitched like the last, I think from July on, late July on, All-Star break on, pitched. And obviously had a gem in Game 4 against Milwaukee. He's a freak. The one that generated controversy, though, Aaron Judge winning MVP from the New York Yankees over Cal Raleigh of the Seattle Mariners. And I don't want this to sound like, oh, you're a Red Sox fan, you're bashing Judge. I'm honest to God not bashing Judge. In fact, my whole thing with him has been all-time great player in the regular season, kind of turns into Lamar Jackson in the postseason. Like that, I've always said, people said, oh, Judge is the Harden of Major League Baseball. I've seen Harden quit in playoff games. I'm not going to assign that to Judge because that's not the case. But the lights have at times looked a bit too bright for him. This year, not the case. He was really the Yankees' only source of offense in the ALDS against the Toronto Blue Jays. Only reason they had a chance to win that series. Toronto was obviously the better team. And so, no knocks on Judge in that department. Goes back to back. Cal Raleigh, as a catcher, hit 60 home runs. Led the Seattle Mariners, by the way, to a better record than the New York Yankees. Does that gotta mean something? You know how hard it is to be a great hitting catcher, much less hit 60 jacks? Is that, and by the way, this isn't totally fair, what I'm about to say, but unfortunately it's a reality of sports, is that when you are an all-time legendary player, like you are in the discussion for one of the best in the history of your sport, voter fatigue comes into play. It happened to Jordan in 1997. It happened to LeBron in 2018. Like, we've seen it happen to some of the greatest athletes in sports. Tom Brady has 3 MVPs. Are you kidding me? Greatest quarterback ever. He's just got 3. Are you kidding? It happens all the time. Voter fatigue. To me, the only way to hold off voter fatigue, because Judge has won multiple before this, is if you have truly an iconic all-time season. Not saying Judge didn't. I am saying Cal did. Most home runs by a catcher ever in baseball history. He should have been MVP over Aaron Judge. All right, we will go to a 1-minute break, but when we come back, Hannah Cummings joins the show. She is my former coworker at Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run. Had a blast of a Disney college program, as I've talked about many times on the show. She is also a graphic design major at Oakland University. She's going to be stopping by to do NFL logo rankings. She's a big-time Detroit Lions fan. Here are rankings in just 1 minute on Carving Up Live. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Welcome back to Carving It Up. Appreciate everybody tuning in today. We got a very special guest joining us. She was my coworker at Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run during the Disney College program. She is a graphic design major at Oakland University, and not Oakland, California. She reminded me on a number of occasions, but the Oakland who knocked out Kentucky back in the day in the NCAA tournament. Would you please give a warm welcome to Hannah Cummings, who is joining Carving It Up right now. Hannah, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's fantastic to have you on this show. And so basically what we're going to be doing, since you are a graphics design major, I mentioned that at the beginning because we're going to be ranking, you're a huge NFL fan, and we're going to be ranking all 32 logos. You got your Lions hoodie? Okay, perfect, perfect. Oh, yeah. So, you know, before we even get in the rankings, I think it's fair because for years on this show, I'm a Steelers fan, of course, but I am very pro Detroit Lions. If I had to pick an NFC team, it would be Detroit. Most of that stems from Dan Campbell. So in honor of a Detroit Lions fan being on the show, let's play the soundbite that we play just about every week on the show.
Kneecap, 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 kneecap.
That's Dan Campbell.
Awesome. I love him. Such a cool guy.
He's the best. I mean, we love celebrating the Detroit Lions. So you're from Michigan, diehard Lions fan. So your fandom has been rewarding the last few years, to say the least.
Yes, yeah, it's definitely. I'm kind of new to the fandom, I would say, honestly, but I 100% am supporting the Lions, all for them, all for taking the kneecaps, all for Dan Campbell and Jared Goff. Love it all.
100%. And I know you're also a Michigan Wolverines fan. So was it mixed feelings seeing JJ McCarthy beat the Lions last week? Like how was that dynamic?
Yeah, it honestly was a little rough. It was cool having him there, you know, welcoming him back into the state, but it was a little uncool to be beat by him. That was a little bit rough to watch.
It was. And by the way, again, we're recording this Saturday, like 6 days after the Lions lost to the Vikings. Okay, so let's go ahead and get right into the rankings lists. Go ahead and take this graphic away. So we'll put up your graphic. Basically, we're doing worst to worst first. So back and forth. Okay. We will show where we have each NFL team ranked, all 32. So as long as you're ready to go, we can go to put up your list right here. So here we go. Explain what you've got, where you've got.
All right. So for some of these, I'm just going to start by saying like I could be persuaded. But these I feel like I'm the most passionate about, like the worst and the first. Everything else I can kind of maybe rearrange a little bit. But my worst and least favorite thing I would have to say was probably the Browns. And the rest of these logos too. It's not only the logos themselves, but it's also like the colors that I don't like. They're hard to get behind, like orange and brown, really. And the logo's just a helmet. Like I feel like there's more that we could be doing. It just doesn't scream football team to me. It's very bland. Same thing for the other three here on the screen. Letters or the word Jets just encased by like a little oval or the arrowhead. I feel like it's just kind of lackluster. I don't know. I would like to see more personally.
Okay, that's fair. I also agree with you. I'll go and put up my bottom four. I completely agree with you on the Browns. I think, listen, this stems well beyond my deep disdain for all of Cleveland sports. It's the worst logo in the NFL. It's a helmet.
It is.
Like, I mean, what are we talking about? Like, it's and it's funny when you put the logo at midfield. They put the logo at midfield a couple of years ago, and I think it's like an elf named Brownie. I'm not kidding. It's awful. No, go ahead.
Nobody's afraid of an elf. right?
No,
Or football helmet. Like what?
And by the way, there's some. I mean, you see the Bengals on this list. I have them at 29. You know, the Bengals logo used to be the helmet with the orange helmet with the black stripes. Like that was kind of cool. They also had like an alternate logo with the Bengal tiger, which I think is way better than just a bee with an orange bee with black stripes. I don't know what that is. Cardinals, just because they're not even the best. They're not even the best Cardinal pro sports team. So I apologize, Arizona fans. And then the Jets. Listen, shout out to my good friends Alfred and Barry and John, but the logo's bad. The old logo where it was like the oval with the NY and then Jets, that's not it. It's not it. So we definitely agree on two of the bottom four without question. And so I will go ahead and put up your next bottom four. So I see you got a certain team in the NFC North that I imagine you're not crazy about.
No, yeah. I'm not. So out of all of these, I would say I like the Steelers and the Raiders probably the best, like as a team. But for the logos for me, I'm going to work my way left to right here. With the Baltimore Ravens, I really don't care for the color scheme at all. I feel like the deep purple mixed with black, that really clashes and it doesn't really stand out to me. And then the red and the gold, it's not cohesive to me. It doesn't work. I think it would be better if they, went all purple or like all black and maybe like a accent color of like red or gold or something. I don't know. Not huge on it. And then kind of building off of what I had for the previous group, with Green Bay, Steelers, and the Raiders, I feel like there could be definitely more done. Just having, again, like the letter of the team or the word of the team on there, it takes away from the design for me. I feel like the design should speak for itself. When you see it, you should know the team and not have to rely on like the letter or the word, if that makes sense.
Sure.
There's more to be done.
I tend to agree with your Baltimore Ravens take. Like I've always the red eye, like, and by the way, for those that don't know, the Ravens are named after literally the poem by Edgar Allan Poe, The Ravens. So like, based in Baltimore. So like that's why they're at. But like I don't know. I feel like if they have an alternate logo where it's like a raven, like it's got the open wings and all like that. I've always thought that was kind of a cool one. A little bit like the old Philadelphia Eagles logo to a certain degree, but yeah, just the Ravens face. I'm not crazy about. I am deeply offended with you putting my Pittsburgh Steelers in the bottom six. That really hurts.
I'm sorry.
It's horrible. Okay, so let's go and go put up my next four on the list right here. Here we go. I've got the Rams at 28 because it's fun. Number one, I like their old logo better back from the St. Louis era, from Kurt Warner and The Greatest Show on Turf. But the second thing is, Hannah, the colors remind me of IKEA. I'm sorry, it does.
Oh, for the Rams?
Yes. I mean, I remember when they first came out in 2020. I was like, they're wearing IKEA uniforms. What is this?
But it's so clean. I'll touch on that later.
Okay, yeah, because I know you certainly favor it more than I do. Giants at 27. You're gonna see that a lot of these teams that I've got lower, some of their previous logos I actually like better. The Giants' old logo, where it just spelled out Giants in the same color scheme, that had like a classier type of feel to it. The NY, I don't know. It feels like there's a lot of teams in New York that works with the NY logo, with like the Yankees and the Jets back in the day. Washington Commanders at 26. First of all, Commanders is an atrocious team name. They could have gone with the Washington Warriors. I wouldn't have been against that, but the W, it doesn't work for me. And then the Houston Texans. It's not that I don't like the logo. It's just, I don't know, the new color scheme that they brought in with the different shade of red than what they used to have about a couple of years ago. I'm not sold on it per se. Am I wrong on any of these other than the Rams?
I agree with your takes. Yeah, except for the Rams. Honestly,
okay.
I do like the Giants logo. I think it's nice. It's a nice, clean way to incorporate text, I guess, like a typeface. Okay. But obviously it could be better. There could be like an actual mascot or something like that. The Commanders too. The logo, honestly, now it kind of reminds me of Waste Management's logo, which is really unfortunate to say. Just the way that the W looks. And I'm not huge on the color scheme either, so I definitely agree with you there.
Honestly, the color scheme is probably the only redeeming quality for me about this entire thing. But yeah,
really?
the Waste Management, that's Wow, that you're not wrong about that. I gotta say.
So, yeah.
All right, put up the next 4 logos for Hannah. Put this up here. I'm not gonna lie, I'm surprised by some of these. Explain where you got it 21 through 24.
Okay, so for the Falcons, see, I get what they're going for. It's an F. I don't know. There's just something about it that like irks me, and sometimes design does that for me, where I can't necessarily say what it is, but like there's just something about it, how it's like laid out in the black and the red. I don't know. I could be persuaded on this one, but it's just like kind of middle ground for me. The Broncos, it's not awful either. Like again, like I feel like this whole slide, they're not awful. It's just they're just not my favorite, if that makes sense.
We're getting into mediocre territory.
Yeah. Like they do the job. They get the job done, and I appreciate that. They're nowhere near as bad as the Browns. That's a huge accomplishment, I would say.
No question about it. No, they're Philadelphia's logo, I think, is fine. Again, I kind of liked the old, not the old color scheme. I like the new kind of dirty green scheme that they've got as far as the colors are concerned. But the Eagles head, I think just kind of works for that. But Denver, I'm a little shocked you have the Broncos as low as you. I've always kind of dug Denver's logo for a long time.
I guess maybe I wish like the line weight on some of it was just a little bit thicker, and maybe I'd like it a little bit more.
Okay.
And just the color scheme maybe a little bit. The orange, I'm not a huge orange person,
Okay.
to be quite fair. There's a lot of it there, but again, it's not terrible. It's just not my favorite.
We're getting 100%. Again, we're getting into mediocre territory. You're probably not going to like my next one of my next 4. Your beloved Detroit Lions make the list.
Yes.
So we completely agree with Atlanta at 21. Again, it's fine. It's like you said, it gets the job done. It doesn't wow you. Jacksonville Jaguars at 22. It's more so. It's weird to say the color scheme because it's pretty much what a Jaguar looks like. But it's I don't know, like the blue tongue. I'm not crazy about it. The only reason I've got the Lions at 23, because again, this is a very pro Detroit Lions show. Carving It Up is very pro Detroit Lions. With that being said, and this is going to sound harsh, is that there's a grocery store chain here in Appalachia called Food Lion.
Oh,
and the logo for the Detroit Lions looks almost identical to it. Like Food Lion probably copied this, to be honest with you. Like it was probably a copy and paste type of situation. I don't know. I've never been crazy about it. If they change the color scheme's great. If they could change the logo, maybe I'd like it a little bit better. And then the Chicago Bears at 24. The classic Bears logo with the C for Chicago worked more for me than just the grizzly bear or whatever kind of bear that is logo. I've never been crazy about it since they instituted that a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I don't know. I really wish I could see the logo of that food store. Right,
yeah,
like
I'll have to show you afterwards because it looks. I think the line is turned the other way instead of looking to the right, it's looking to the left. But it's I don't know. It's always reminded me of that, and I've never quite been able to shake that. Okay, let's go and put up your next 4. Here you go. See what you got here.
So, we definitely agree with like the Chicago Bears. Like for me, I think the bear is just a little bit too detailed. I feel like it could be toned back a little bit. It's a little too realistic, and I guess maybe not that that's like an awful thing. It just could be better. And I would probably like to see like a side by side of like what the old one looks like and the new one, just for like a reference in my mind. Because maybe I agree. Like
sure, the old one has more of like a simple classic feel.
Yeah. And then the Cardinals, I don't know. It's like the opposite end of the spectrum compared to the Bear, right? The Bear is super like realistic. The Cardinal, it's almost like kind of lackluster. There's no shading. It's just flat color. It's kind of boring, but it's better than the Browns. And then I already kind of said my piece about the Commanders. It looks like waste management, but the way that the W looks, I don't know. The design works for me. I like the angles, the sharp angles of it, and that's probably the best thing I can say about it. It's a really nicely designed W. And the reason I did Jaguars there, I like the color scheme. I'm a big fan of teal. I think it's a cool like touch to have like the eyes, the nose, and the tongue be a different color than what we're realistically used to. I don't know. There's just something about like the gold and the teal that really speaks to me.
Okay. I feel that. That's, again, matter of personal preference. I totally get that. That's an interesting point you make about the Chicago Bears. Like, there's almost too much going on there for you to
Right.
kind of take it all in terms of, because what do you want a logo to do at the end of the day is be simple, but also kind of send a clear message, I guess, what we're about, what your company wants to be about. So yeah, that's not a bad list at all. Go and put up mine up here for the next 4. I've got the Colts at 20. It's not even that I hate the horseshoe, but y'all are going to see, I've got the Denver Broncos pretty high on this list. I obviously haven't rated them yet. If the Indianapolis Colts had and I think they may have an alternate logo with the horse. If they had a horse, maybe I just like horses. Maybe that's what it is. But the horseshoe doesn't really do it for me. The Saints logo is solid. I do wish there was a little bit more going on there, but the Saints logo is fine. The Packers logo is at 18. It's not even that I don't like the logo. It's just I don't like the fact that they literally stole it from the Georgia Bulldogs. It's the same logo, just different color scheme. Like that's always bugged me. And shout out to my sister who's a Packers fan, but I'm sorry. I can't put it higher than where it's at. I can't do it. And the Tennessee Titans at 17. Again, it's mid. It's fine. I wouldn't be shocked if the Titans actually changed their logo in a couple of years when they move stadiums, change their uniforms, like go with a whole new sort of fresh look. But again, we're in a mediocre territory. Again, the horseshoe doesn't do it for me. Saints are fine. Packers literally copied their logo directly from a college football team. And the Tennessee Titans is solid. I don't have really anything bad to say about it. So,
yeah, I honestly agree with this take. Like, I guess I never like made the connection between the Packers and then Georgia. Like, now that you say that, I 100% see it, and I can't unsee it now.
No, I mean, I can never, anytime I see the Packers logo, I see the Georgia logo, not the other way around. Like, that's always
right.
And shout out to Georgia fans. They're very, very nice, very friendly, but that has always bugged me. Let's go and put up your next 4 rankings on the list. Looks like we got an NFC North rival of your Lions in here.
Yes, we do. Okay, so this is kind of like a mixed bunch, I would say. The Viking, very classic. My middle school actually used this logo, but recolored it, so I'm kind of a little bit fond of it. It's kind of like, I don't know what the right word is. It's almost like nostalgic and like kind of classical for me. It's definitely not as modern as, say, like the Titans logo that we just had up. I don't know. It's iconic. It's the Viking. It's the guy. It's okay. It's just okay.
Right. Well, that's why it's the 16th, right? Smack dab in the middle.
Right. Exactly. The Bills, I think it's okay too. I feel like they could do more with the Buffalo. I do like that there's a Buffalo on there to represent, where they're from. Again, I feel like there's more of an opportunity to do something with it. The Texans, it's okay. I don't know. I would have to see the palette, like their old palette versus the new palette, to really get a better like understanding of, the new direction that they've gone in. But I don't know. I like their uniforms. I think they're nice. They're really like deep blue. It's classic. It's very like American.
Solid. Yeah, I've just never loved the logo more than anything.
Yeah, it's kind of like, eh. The Panthers, I do like. I really like the black and the blue. The blue is very similar to the Lions logo, so maybe that's why I like it a lot. And it's a cat too. I just realized. I think it's got the right level of like simplicity, but also it's kind of a little bit intimidating. You got like the teeth bared and everything. It's just good. It's good.
Sure. Yeah, I feel that, and I think with the Carolina Panthers, the old logo was more, and they changed it probably, I don't know, 10 years ago or so, but it was more darker. I think the darker color scheme was kind of more involved. This one with the blue is always worked for me. I've also got Carolina pretty high on my list. Yeah, I've always dug their logo, and Buffalo's is fine. 15 is a fair place to put it where it is at. Let's go and put up my next 4 rankings, 13 through 16. I've got Kansas City at number 16. Again, kind of the classic. Arrowhead obviously goes back to the great Lamar Hunt, who not only founded the Chiefs, but helped found the National Football League that we know today. So there's kind of like a historical component of that logo, of that organization. The Chargers Lightning Bolt, I've got at 15. I've always kind of had a soft spot for. I've always liked it. I've got it at 15. Seattle at 14. When they changed from kind of like like a navy / light blue and they kind of added more of the green aspect to it. Seattle's got some of the best uniforms in the league, and I think the logo matches them quite well. And the 49ers
Mhm.
it's just classic. Like the gold and red. I'm surprised you had San Francisco as low as you had it, because I just think maybe it's the gold helmets, like just the color scheme. It's simple, but it just works so well for that organization.
I just think it's just too simple. I don't know.
Okay,
It's just not as compelling as like the Chargers lightning bolt, for example. I don't know.
that's fair.
It's just the 2 letters and the color scheme. I mean, it's okay.
Okay. Well,
It just
I
doesn't do it
guess
for me.
because of the the gold rush 1849, which is why they're called the 49ers, the gold, like I think the historical significance of it, I think it works for the logo. But we'll go ahead and put up
Yeah.
we're getting into your top 10 now. So these are logos that you kind of dig. So where are you at in this?
Yes. Okay, so for the Patriots, I really like it. I think their logo is very classic. It's very recognizable. I feel like anybody would know what it is if they saw it. I really dig the color scheme. As you can see, I guess like a running theme here for my bunch is like I really do like navy. I really like blue. And obviously comparing it with like white and red, it goes super well. The Bucks, I love their logo. I like how they incorporated the saber, and then they have the flag on there, the little skull, and the football. I think it's very nice. I'm also really biased towards Florida. I mean, because we worked there.
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah, so I just kind of have like a soft spot for them. And then the Seahawks, I love the navy, and I really like the bright kind of like lime green that they have like as their accent color. I think it's really cool, and it definitely stands out. Their logo itself is a little bit simplistic, maybe a little bit too simple, but everything else, with their branding and such, I think it makes up for that. And then the Chargers lightning bolt, I think it's really classic. It's very simple and nice. I love the color scheme that they have going to, and of course, I'm pretty biased towards Jim Harbaugh,
Yes,
so I'm all
absolutely.
for
That's true.
them. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, Jim Harbaugh winning a national championship at Michigan a couple of years ago. And by the way, the blue is not that dissimilar from, like, when I was making the graphics for these, the light blue, the sky blue is not that dissimilar from your Detroit Lions. So I see why you kind of
that's
have
true.
that affinity for that. So like that
Yes.
definitely works. Okay, we'll put up my next 4 as we sort of bore into my top 10. Again, Philadelphia's logo I've always thought was solid. Like, again, the eagle head, I think it represents the city well, and what they want the Eagles to be. The Buffalo Bills at number 11. Again, the color scheme I think is excellent. They've had this logo for, gosh, like I think almost on their entire existence as a franchise. So
Mhm.
maybe a little bit of a change what might work for them. Back in the day, they used to have the red helmets. Now they've got the white helmets. Like the helmet scheme either way is solid. The colors are solid. I think the logo could use a little bit of more, modernization. Minnesota Vikings have
100%.
got at number 10. It's, again, the horns are fantastic. The golden hair I think is excellent for a team in Minnesota. And then for the Baltimore Ravens, I've got them at number 9. Like, again, I view this logo a little bit more than you do, almost only because I wish the logo was more. I wish they incorporated the secondary logo with the Ravens wings, the open wings. Like, I think that would work better than just the Ravens head. But at the same time, the purple color scheme works. It represents the city well. And anytime I see that, I can't not think of, Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and some of the greats of Ravens past that went against my Steelers for years. So, yeah, that's where I've got from 9 to 12.
Yeah, it's a good lineup for sure.
So we'll go ahead and put up so we're well into the top 10. We're boarding into top 5 territory. So what do you got here?
Okay, so for these ones, I feel like they're really just kind of like classics, like the Colts, for example, the horseshoe. I know you had it kind of a little bit farther down. I put it farther up just because it's so recognizable, and it just works. The simplicity of it really works. And of course the color scheme too. Very nice. The Bengals, it's probably, I think it's the highest ranked like Ohio team that I have on here. I really like the B, actually.
Okay.
Kind of surprisingly compared to like what I've said. I feel like the orange and then the stripes of the tiger, I think it works really well. I really dig their color scheme and everything that they've got going on. The Titans, I also really like theirs. I like the lighter blue paired with like that navy and the red and the white. It doesn't also, I don't really know exactly how it relates to a Titan. Maybe it's like the shield or something. But
that's always confused me too. As somebody who lives in
yeah,
Tennessee.
Yeah, but besides that, I think it's really nice. And then, of course, the Cowboys, it's probably like the most recognizable, maybe. I don't know.
You can make
Um,
that case, yeah.
yeah, it's really, it's so classical. I don't know what I would do to change it. And if they changed it, I think everybody would probably be like all up in arms. It would be
Oh,
not a good, thing
no,
to
the
do,
the
but
the logo, the uniforms, like everything about Dallas is classic. And again, I haven't ranked them
right.
on my list, and you're not going to see it on my list for the next four, so that means it's in my top four. I've
Yes.
got the Miami Dolphins at number 8. I'm in the minority. There's a lot of folks that think the old Dolphins logo, where the dolphin has like a football helmet on, I always thought it looks kind of goofy. I don't know why. Like just seeing a fish wear a football helmet like never really worked for me. Like this one kind of flows better with like the dolphin like swimming in the water, and it's like almost like the hot bright suns of like the Hard Rock element in Miami. I think works. I've also got Carolina high on my list. I've got them at number 7. Again, the blue as well, kind of contrasting with the black, works for me. I think it fits Charlotte quite well. Tampa Bay, to your point, being partial to the state of Florida, it was actually the closest, I guess, it was the closest football team to where we were worked at Disney World. But they do. I went to a game at Tampa Bay about 4 years ago, and they do this really cool thing. They had like these small flags in the seats, and when you go to the game, they do this tradition where you wave the flags, and it's like it's a really cool kind of tradition they've had. I think the logo is really cool. And for Denver, again, maybe I'm partial to horses. I don't know what it is, but they've had this thing. They've had this thing for a quarter century almost, and it doesn't get old. Again, Peyton Manning, a volunteer legend, wore it. Like there's been a lot of greats. John Elway wore it late in his career. Like there's just it's like the Denver Broncos didn't start winning Super Bowls until they changed to this logo. So like maybe that has something to do with it. And so, yeah, that's why I've got Denver very high on the list. But yeah, I think all of these convey the message of their city, convey what these organizations want to be about. So that's where I've got them, So we can go and put up, these are, if I can find this here, your top 4 franchises. And shocker, look at the Detroit Lions on the list. I have no idea why you put that there, Hannah.
Yeah, I have no idea either. It's crazy how they made it to that
Just so happened.
position. Yeah. So I'm gonna, I guess, work my way from 4th to 1st. So the Saints, I think it's super duper nice. I don't know. The colors is maybe I'm kind of biased because it's the same colors as Oakland University. Um, but it's just it works for me. It's super nice. The fleur de lis, it represents the team and their city very well. I don't know if there's much more I can say about that. It's just good. It's just really good.
Sure.
And I agree with what your point you made about the Miami Dolphins. I really like this one. How the dolphin, he's going through the sun and the colors work together. It's a very Floridian looking logo, and I think it really encapsulates like the vibe and essence of Miami very well. The Lions, I mean, I had to put them in the top 4, of course.
Of course.
The colors, it's very classic. Of course, it's my team. I can see what you're talking about earlier about how maybe it could be a little bit different and how it unfortunately relates to the supermarket. But I think it does a good job of working with like the full body of the lion and not just doing the head of the animal like most other sports teams do. And then the Rams, I think that they have the best logo and color scheme and like marketing. I really love what they did with the A and how they made it into that like horn shape. I think it's very creative, very good use of the ram and also just the letters of the city, LA. It just works for me. And maybe also because it's the same colors as the University of Michigan. I like it. I don't know.
That's true. That may have just a little something to do with it. No
Maybe.
Bias whatsoever. I imagine there's no question about it. The creativity, because the Rams logo is one of the newest. It might be the new or one of the newest logos in the NFL. Certainly one of the more original looking logos. I like the fact that the LA part of it, like, for years when the Rams first moved to Los Angeles, they kept the same logo, which I honestly prefer of like the Rams head. The only issue was it was like the vibe was still in St. Louis. This one like differentiated, like it's LA. It's LA's team. It's the Rams. So I don't necessarily disagree with you in that front. It's just, it reminds me too much of IKEA. That's the only thing I can't.
That's fair. Or like Walmart.
Get away with. Walmart. Yeah, Walmart. That's another good example. All right, here's my top 4. The Dallas Cowboys are at number 4. Again, it is, you can make a case it's the most recognizable logo, not just in the NFL, but in all of American team sports. Again, the blue, the metallic, the helmets, it all works. The Oakland Raiders / Las Vegas Raiders, black and gray, like it's just a classic logo. Go back to the John Madden days, go back to some of the classic teams of Raiders past. I know they've been kind of in the dumpster the last 25 years or so, but this is it perfectly. Again, I don't know if it necessarily works for Vegas necessarily, but for Oakland, it was perfect. Like the black hole, and like it was like Halloween every single game there. Like it perfectly suits that city. I've got my Steel, like you, I've got my team at number 2. I've got the Steelers at number 2. Again, just the Steel City. We talk about recognizable logos. That's up there on the list with the Cowboys, the Packers, San Francisco, Kansas City. Like certainly those logos will be high on the list. It's just perfect. The black and yellow, which, it's talk about the Wiz Khalifa song, which might as well be the theme song of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the New England Patriots are number 1. And what's crazy is I think this is actually New England's second best logo in their history. The old one they used to have of Pat Patriot, who's their mascot, like, on the ball, snapping the ball under center. Like, I've always thought that was cool. I think it was actually the logo of my dad's high school back in the day. So that's always been cool. But the Patriots logo is just, it's in the modern times of the 21st century, I would argue it's the most iconic of the last 25 years, obviously due to Michigan alum, by the way, Tom Brady, leading the Patriots to incredible success. So that's where I've got my top 4. So let's go and let's do like a little comparison if I can pull up your list here. So our top 4s I think are solid. The overall list is solid. Any sort of critiques, my list, or one way or the other, where are you at on it?
Honestly, I think you do have a really good take. Honestly, I can definitely get behind what you had for your top 4. It's kind of funny. The side by side, mine was very colorful, and then yours, it was like the not as
classic.
Colorful, which I thought was interesting. Yeah,
it's a matter of taste. Like it just, I guess I tend to favor kind of the more classic, going back to like around the time the Super Bowl era started, 60s, 70s, and the logos have kind of stood the test of time. Although New England, they haven't had that logo for all their history, but I've always jived with it. Hannah, great stuff. Appreciate you coming on the show. Hopefully we can do some sort of logo ranking like this again in the future, and appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It was super fun.
For sure. Welcome back to Carving Up Live. Appreciate everybody stopping by on a Friday. Shout out to Hannah Cummings. Fantastic stuff on the show, doing a logo rankings list. And it is, listen, as I said during that segment, this is a very pro-Detroit Lions show. It is again, if I can't shake a logo reminding me of something else, that's where I part. Again, with the Green Bay Packers, they did quite literally copy the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia had their logo first, then Green Bay followed. And so, again, Green Bay color scheme, it's fine. As a friend of my sister once said, it looks like John Deere, but it works. It's classic. So we've always known the Packers to be. It's just Georgia. And then for the Rams, Hannah is correct. The logo itself is great. The color scheme reminds me, and the uniforms especially, remind me of IKEA. When they first released them back in 2020, I'm like, that's IKEA. And then with her beloved Detroit Lions. And frankly, let's, again, just one time for the one time. Let's go and give some love to Dan Campbell in the group.
Kneecap.
Again, very pro-Detroit Lions show. The color scheme's great. It just looks too much like a local supermarket that I've seen. That's kind of in Appalachia. But regardless, fantastic list. Appreciate Hannah coming on the show. Maybe we can have her back on to do like I don't know, like a college football, that'd take forever. It's 128, 130 something logos. That would, we'd probably have to make like a 4-part series with that, or like an NBA baseball, something like that. But fantastic stuff. All right. So we took a week off of doing this segment last week because the Vols run a bye, and also because I had done a Josh Heupel segment that Wednesday. But the Vol View, it's a segment we do every Friday previewing Tennessee's upcoming matchup during the college football season. So without further ado, the Vol View starts right now.
Football time in Tennessee.
Indeed it is. And not only is it football time in Tennessee, but it is homecoming time in Tennessee, as Tennessee obviously suits up against New Mexico State for their annual homecoming game, wearing, by the way, some dope uniforms. Not just the smoky gray. And again, I'll pull up the helmet, obviously, that I've shown many times with shows. So it's a gift for Christmas for my sister. We need to get some of the dust on it. Here we go. But not only is it like the smoky gray, but as you can see, you've got like the Smoky Mountain kind of look there, which is, they changed it to that pretty recently. It's a couple of years ago and made it official. But it's not just the smoky gray colors. It is and you'll have to Google it. It is basically a salute to service type of uniform, because obviously this is the first Saturday after Veterans Day. Again, shout out to all the incredible servicemen and women out there. It's basically a tribute to them. I'm sure we'll probably have a flyover before the game tomorrow. It's going to be unbelievable. So Tennessee taking on New Mexico State. Not a ton to say about the game because Tennessee is a 40.5-point favorite. New Mexico State is only 3-6. Tennessee should win that game, the matter of which is whether Tennessee will cover. It's 40.5. Go and put up the final score. I think they will. I think it'll be 54-10. It won't be particularly close, but give me the Vols, obviously, to win comfortably on homecoming. The question, though, for Tennessee is, it goes back to something that Steve Sarkisian said last week. We talked about in the Saturday morning tailgate. Well, I'm talking about the Saturday morning tailgate. Be sure to check it out tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific time, live here on the Grid Network's YouTube channel and on X. Myself, Tim Barnard, Arthur Hurst, breaking down all the latest in college football, making predictions, giving our top 25 list, curated segments for our favorite teams. You're missing out if you don't check it out. I think we do a fantastic job, so check that out tomorrow morning. But we talked about it last week on Saturday morning tailgate. I'm sure it'll be a little bit of discussion tomorrow. Okay, given the unbelievable depth of the Southeastern Conference, you're talking about Alabama, you're talking about Texas A&M, you're talking about Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, down the list we go. Tennessee should a 3-loss SEC team get in over like a 2-loss ACC team, like a Virginia, for example? Or if, say, BYU were to lose another game over a 2-loss Big 12 team? That's the question. And my response at this particular juncture is, and this is going to, I'm sure Vols fans will get mad at me for this, but if that 3-loss team is Texas, yes. If, again, assuming Texas takes care of Arkansas and splits one of their next 3 games against Georgia or against A&M, especially if they beat A&M. Like, lose to Georgia, beat Arkansas, beat A&M. Yeah, I think you have a good case. The resume's sensational. The 2 of the 3 losses are against excellent programs, blue blood programs in college football. Arch Manning's been getting better. The defense play well. Like, yeah, I think so. For Tennessee, they would need a full-blown collapse by a lot of teams above them. And by the way, it's not like Tennessee doesn't still have a quote-unquote good team ahead of them. I say quote-unquote because y'all know, if y'all watch a Saturday morning tailgate, I do not buy the Vanderbilt Commodores whatsoever. But in theory, Vanderbilt sits here today, right? What are they, 15th ranked in the nation? 14th ranked in the nation, my bad? If they come into that game again in Knoxville, November 29th, 2025, 2 losses on their resume, coming into Knox Vegas, Neyland Stadium. Vols have a golden opportunity, not only just to end Vanderbilt's season. We'll talk about that in the Vol View in a couple weeks. Oh, don't you think we ain't going to talk about that in a couple of weeks? Not only that, that's a legit win on Tennessee's resume. The problem is all of the 3 best teams Tennessee has played, 0 for. if again, and this is what drives me crazy. If not Chase McGrath, if what's my man's name? Kicker for Tennessee. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name. Shows you how memorable he's been. Max Gilbert. If Max Gilbert hits a kick that most college kickers do against Georgia, Tennessee's in great position. They have 2 losses. They beat Georgia. They could beat Vanderbilt. Tennessee's in if they run the table. He misses a kick. Tennessee goes to Tuscaloosa. Bama controls that game. The pick six in the first half was devastating for the Vols. And, of course, a couple of weeks ago in a game Tennessee absolutely had to have at home. The offense committed multiple turnovers. The defense got absolutely run all over for 60 minutes. And Tennessee's chance to make the college football playoff is virtually extinguished. Again, barring a miracle ahead of them. With that being said, there are still some positives to take away if Tennessee can be able to win out. Number one, you win on homecoming. Great. Next week at Florida. As I've said many times on the show, Tennessee has not beaten Florida in the swamp since I was 3 months old. Since September, or I believe it was September of 2003. Long time ago. If there's ever a time to get the Florida Gators, you'd think it's right now. I don't know. They just got blown out by the worst team in the SEC, Kentucky. So what does that make Florida? And then, of course, you finish the season at home, senior day, Neyland Stadium, against those cocky, overachieving, overrated Vanderbilt Commodores, with an opportunity potentially, because Vanderbilt should win their next 2 games, to end Vandy's season, to end Vandy's opportunity to contend for a college football playoff berth. So, and by the way, Tennessee gets a playoff game, gets a bowl game, obviously. Win that, you got another 10-win season. Which would be contrary to what the idiots out there that want Josh Heupel gone. That would be 3 10-win seasons in 5 years for Coach Heupel, including a college football playoff appearance with a quarterback none of us thought was good, Nico Iamaleava. To get to 10 wins with a transfer quarterback in Joey Aguilar, who wasn't on the team prior to the spring game, a situation where Boo Carter, the disciplinary issues, the defense is battered by injuries before you play the first snap, and you could potentially get to 10 wins in the Southeastern Conference. You came closer than you ever have in the last decade of beating Georgia. These small type of victories build momentum for a program. Tennessee's recruiting very well. I imagine Heupel, as he always is going to be active in the transfer portal. This will be a great opportunity for Tennessee moving forward to put themselves in position to contend for the SEC. Because the fact of the matter is, you look at next year's schedule, home road, it's tough. But if you can get similar play without the turnovers from a quarterback next year that you've gotten from Joey Aguilar, who has been an upgrade over Nico, sustain the great running game that Tennessee has had, good offensive line play, upgrade the defense. I don't think people calling for Tim Banks' job too. I don't think Tim Banks is the problem. The scheme is not the problem. It's the personnel, and maybe more so, the lack of personnel, the lack of future NFL prospects, Jermon McCoy in particular. So Tennessee should take care of business tomorrow night, against New Mexico State. Homecoming. Listen, Deion Sanders said it best. You look good, you feel good, you play good, and Deion also added this: you get paid good. Because you look good, you feel good, you play good, you get paid good. So I think Tennessee's going to be in a good position to get the job done. All right, that is it for this week's edition of the Vol View. And as we end, as we end the show tonight, or not as we end the show, but as we end, or continues to the final segment of tonight's show, this has been, I wasn't able to update the graphic. We had some technical difficulties, but I'll just kind of read it off the list here. So upset of the week, 4-6, not bad for upset of the week. Out of 4, it should be a good sign, right? Because, you start 0-2, 2-game losing streak, and then you go on a 4-game winning streak, and now I'm on a 4-game losing streak, on upset of the week. So a win has to be coming, I'm sure, and I love my upset of the week this week. You'll have to stay tuned for that. Bryson's Bleak bet, hovering right at 500. That's, okay, not shocked. And if I were a bet man, this has been hard. This has been, I would go so far as to say devastating. I'm looking at the record right now. Again, we weren't able to get the graphic for the show due to some technical difficulties. But this season on my favorite segment of all time, if I were a bet man, well, it's a good thing I'm not been this year because I'm 11-19. I am 8 games under 500. So what this gives me an opportunity to do is either, because I was thinking about it this week, is either I could lay down, fall on the sword, take the L, cancel if I were a bet man for the rest of the season, or I could say, you know what? Do I have a 0% chance to have a winning record? No. Okay. You're telling me there's a chance. Therefore, I will continue to forge forward. Again, all it takes, haven't had a 3-0 week all season long. All it takes is not 1, not 2, but 3. 3-0 weeks, and all of a sudden, 19-18, over 500. It can only go uphill, from there. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling, or I guess 2019, technically. No, 20-19. My bad. 19-18. 20-19. And it'll be uphill from there. So let's go and get to NFL predictions. Get the background music going. Here we go. Alrighty. And with some amazing games for week 11. There's some great games in college football tomorrow that we'll talk about on Saturday morning tailgate tomorrow morning. But NFL Sunday, I shouldn't say start to finish because the morning game, it's kind of mid. 1 o'clock on, it's great. So we'll start from Real Madrid, Spain, the Washington Commanders, and the Miami Dolphins, 2-3-7 teams squaring off. I think it's the first game, if I'm not mistaken, in the history, the first NFL game ever in Real Madrid. So that's going to be exciting for those fans over there. The Dolphins are favored -2.5. Now, if there's one thing that I've observed of the first 10 weeks of this NFL season, is that the Cincinnati Bengals have, the worst defense of football. The Dallas Cowboys have the second worst defense of football. And the Washington Commanders have the third worst defense in the National Football League. And so given the pulse of life the Miami Dolphins have shown us from time to time. Here, they almost beat the Buffalo Bills back in week 3. They clobbered Atlanta, right? They clobbered Buffalo in their second meeting with them. Given that the limitations and the holes in Washington's defense, in particular their secondary, you're telling me Tua with decent protection, which he got last week against a solid Buffalo pass rush, you're telling me Mike McDaniel, smart offensive coach, they couldn't get a win in Real Madrid? I think they will. Give me the Miami Dolphins. -2.5 to win 26-21 over the Washington Commanders. Again, it's just been a disastrous year for Washington. Like it all comes down to Jaden Daniels' health, and it also comes down to this defense. I remember predicting before the season, I had Washington making the playoffs, but I said if this team is not able to win ugly 20-17 type of games, they are not a contender. Because that's really something they kind of struggled with last year. The defense was bad last year. The defense is worse this season, and now there's no Jaden Daniels. So Washington's definitely going to have to add to the back end and also be able to upgrade their offensive line. All right, next up, we got going to the 1 o'clock window now. The Los Angeles Chargers coming to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. LA is a 2.5-point road favorite in this one. So this game has huge playoff implications. For the Chargers, trying to keep pace in the AFC West, and for the Jacksonville Jaguars, we're just trying to hold off Kansas City right now for that last playoff spot. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are probably about to go on a roll, but Jacksonville, hey, we beat them. We are currently the 7th seed as we sit here today, but the Jags coming off of an absolutely devastating fourth quarter collapse against the Houston Texans. They're up 29-10. Houston ends up scoring 26 unanswered. They win the game. So Jacksonville, forget their chances to win the AFC South, which were in limbo to begin with. Now they're pretty much out of the mix in that department. Now it's just about keeping a playoff spot. Trevor Lawrence, I'm almost to the point with Trevor where it's like, you know what? Sam Darnold got off to a rough start in his career with a dysfunctional franchise. Maybe if you put, Trevor Lawrence in a good franchise, maybe it could work. Until we find that out, he's a Jacksonville Jaguar. Jacksonville's dealing with injuries. Travis Hunter's out for the season, unfortunately. Knock on wood for him. Hopefully he'll come back next year and crush it. Not sure he'll play 2 ways again. We'll see. Jacksonville's defense has kind of gotten exposed in the last couple of weeks. Chargers, I was impressed with what they did against a great Steelers pass rush. Justin Herbert played well. Ladd McConkey made some plays. So I'm going to take the Chargers to win this game 23-20. Kind of a close game. It's in Jacksonville. Yeah, so that's a long, flight from LA all the way to Jacksonville in the 1 o'clock window, which in LA would be 10 a.m. So bit of an adjustment. Close game, but I've got the Chargers 23-20 and -2.5 over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Up next, big AFC North matchup. By the way, you're going to see a lot of divisional games this weekend. The Cincinnati Bengals coming to Pittsburgh, coming to Acrisure Stadium to take on my beloved Pittsburgh Steelers. My Steelers are 5.5-point favorites. So I would be lying to you if I said that I love the spread. I'm not crazy about 5.5. With that being said, there is something to be said about if you play in primetime, which the Pittsburgh Steelers did. Obviously went on the road to the Chargers and played a virtual home game. Right, Steelers Nation showed up and showed out as we all expected at SoFi. And you would have thought that they were going into the Lions den, for crying out loud. It was a disaster for Pittsburgh's offense. And a disaster for Aaron Rodgers, who had the worst game of his career. But if there's any anecdote to a struggling offense, to a struggling, older, aging, geriatric quarterback at this point, the greatest anecdote to that is the worst defense in football, the Cincinnati Bengals. No pass rush, just traded their linebacker. Secondary's god-awful. Did you see the Jets' offense last night? Yeah, they scored 39 against the Bengals defense on the road. So Cincinnati's defense is awful. Aaron Rodgers had his best game as a Steeler with 4 touchdown passes against Cincinnati on that Thursday night game about a month ago. Joe Flacco, I get off a bye, and that helps. But I tend to roll with great teams, or at least well-coached teams, coming off a bye. Cincinnati's not that. I know there's a lot of, hey, Joe Burrow could be back by Thanksgiving. This game will continue to put that in doubt because at this point, will Joe Burrow coming back even mean anything for the Cincinnati Bengals season? So hesitantly, I'll take us to cover. That's probably not the wisest thing to do, but the Steelers need to win this game in order to stay in first place in the AFC North. So I'll take Pittsburgh minus 5.5, 31-21. Again, with that Cincinnati O-line, Alex Highsmith is out, which hurts, but you still got Nick Herbig. You've obviously got TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Keanu Benton, all these guys. I think Pittsburgh matches up great. They do in this game what they should have done on Thursday Night Football a month ago against this team. So give me Pittsburgh, 31-21. It is now time for my favorite segment of all time. It is the first game for...
Would I have Bettin Man?
If I were a Bettin Man, like this one a lot. Good game. A game that means a lot for both these squads. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Buffalo Bills from Highmark Stadium. The Bills are favored minus 5.5. I love the Tampa Bay Bucks plus 5.5 in the spot. I'll explain to you exactly why. Both of these teams are desperate for different reasons. Tampa Bay is going to win the AFC South, or the NFC South. They just are. Carolina's not running them down. Atlanta's too dysfunctional too, and the Saints are just terrible. So Tampa Bay, just pencil it in. They're going to have a home playoff game come mid-January. It's a matter of, are they Super Bowl contenders in what is a jam-packed NFC that's loaded with contenders? Is Tampa Bay one of them? Well, Baker Mayfield, after they lost to New England, no shame in that. You see what New England's doing. But they lost, competed, but they lost. Baker Mayfield goes to the media and he says, you know what? I don't like the killer instinct or lack thereof that this offense has shown. We've got to find an ability. If we're up 7-0 on New England, which the Tampa Bay Bucks were, drive the sword in. Find a way to keep the foot on their neck, continue to be aggressive and be effective offensively. Now, we understand Bucky Irving's still dealing with injuries. Mike Evans is out probably for the rest of the regular season. Godwin, similar things. But Emeka Egbuka is the truth, right? He is firmly in the running for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Him, Tyler Warren, a lot of guys you can put on that list. For Buffalo, their desperation is, man, we got to keep pace with New England to win the AFC East, so we're going to have to worry about going on the road for the playoffs, which Josh Allen has never had to do outside of his rookie year, but that was kind of a different scenario. None of us thought the Bills were contenders in 2019. With this Bills secondary as porous as it is, with Tampa Bay's offensive line as good as it is, ability to protect Baker Mayfield against a good Buffalo pass rush, which, by the way, struggled to get to Tua last week, and the Dolphins aren't exactly known for having a great offensive line, to say the very least. 5.5 feels like too many points. In fact, I'm going to take Tampa straight up, 31-30. I don't need the Bucs to win, but I do think they'll cover plus 5.5 and the outright W. 31-30, and what I think will be, there's always those few games in the 1 o'clock window that you got on Sunday Ticket or Red Zone or however you watch your games, and there's always like 2 or 3 you're just going back and forth. Your eyeballs are doing an exercise. This is going to be one of them. This is going to be the game that's back and forth in the fourth quarter. Whoever gets the ball last wins. Baker, touchdown maker. He's been clutch all year. He'll get the Bucs in the field goal range, and they will win it at the gun. McLaughlin hits the walk-off, and the Bucs win 31-30 and reestablish themselves as a contender in the NFC. What do we got up next? Make sure I'm getting this right. Okay, next up, Chicago Bears, Minnesota Vikings from Minneapolis. The Vikings are a 2.5-point favorite in this spot. I got to admit, this line confused me a little bit. It really did. This was the closest game that I almost put for if I were a Bettin Man that I didn't. Just barely missed the cut. Is that, okay, wait a second. This Minnesota Vikings offense, let me rephrase that. J.J. McCarthy is really struggling, and he's hurt. Right? And then the Vikings are working with a makeshift offensive line. I get it. Chicago's defense has played less than below their standard, to say the very, very least. Jalen Johnson had a number of guys out with injury over the course of the season. I understand that. But at the end of the day, this kid, Caleb Bleepin Williams, he's starting to figure it out, folks. And I called this back in the preseason. Around Halloween, early November, Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson would start to figure each other out. Back-to-back games with game-winning drives. Caleb doing with his arm, his legs. The deep ball's got to get better. He's got to stop throwing the deep ball on a line drive. He's got to throw it on an arc. That's what the best quarterbacks in the league do. Caleb's got to learn that. But some of these intermediate routes, the arm strength that this kid has, off the charts. Brian Flores will throw whatever he can at this team. They've shown that they can fight through adversity. I like the Chicago Bears a lot in this situation. Do we have the Bears? Here it is. I love the Chicago Bears in this spot. Give me them 24-20 over the Minnesota Vikings. I am shocked that the Vikings are favored in this game. I'm not saying the Bears should be like 3-point favorites or something, but geez, like it's a real home field advantage Minnesota has, but that's a bit too far for my liking. AFC South matchup. You got a game between the Houston Texans and the Tennessee Titans from Nashville. The Texans without their starting quarterback. This tells you how bad Tennessee is. Texans without their starting quarterback in an offense that wasn't that good to begin with. They're 5.5-point favorites on the road. So there was a part of me that's like, 5.5 at home, division team against the backup. Like there's a part of me that's saying you should take Tennessee in the points here. I can't do it. Tennessee's awful. Okay, they're awful. Their defense is decimated by injury. Cam Ward has not even been the best first-round rookie quarterback, much the best rookie. Jackson Dart's been better. Tyler Shuck has been better in his limited action this season. Now you can make the case that's because Cam Ward has nothing to work with, and I'll hear you on that. We'll see what he does in year two, hopefully with an upgrade at head coach. But Calvin Ridley dealing with injuries, the Titans' defensive line, I'm sorry. Like, you can make the case, hey, 4 straight losses, W. 4 straight losses, they're due for another one. Tennessee might very well be the worst team in football, and Houston is desperate to stay in the AFC playoff mix. I love their defense. I always have before the season. Houston, minus 5.5. They win this game 25-17 over the Tennessee Titans. Houston, minus 5.5. What do we have up next? All right, NFC South matchup, and what is Bryson's Bleak Bet? It's one game each and every week that I've absolutely zero confidence in predicting, but hey, you got to predict them all. Bryson's Bleak Bet mainstays, man. I'll tell you what, they are just the gift keeps on giving for this segment. The Carolina Panthers coming to the ATL, take on the Falcons. Atlanta, 3.5-point favorite at home. So Carolina, I was slowly starting to buy a bit of stock in Carolina. And then they scored 7 points against the New Orleans Saints at home in a game that could have gotten them to 6-4 and firmly within the playoff race in the NFC. They score 7 points at home. So now they got to go on the road. Bryce Young has struggled. Bryce Young hasn't gotten a ton of production. We know Bryce Young doesn't bring a whole lot of arm strength to the table. And Atlanta's pass rush is legit. There's no question about it. Their ability to stop the run, that's kind of what's in question. We know Jonathan Taylor, albeit the best running back in football, went for 240 on them, but that's still something. Can Rico Dowdle be able to expose those flaws? For Atlanta's offense, you don't know what you're getting based on the week. Michael Penix could be accurate, or Michael Penix could be terrible. Drake Maye, I keep saying Drake Maye. Drake London could look like a top 5 receiver, or he could disappear. You never know. Kyle Pitts, that on steroids. Bijan Robinson, similar. Maybe Atlanta just needs a new offensive coaching staff. Who knows? But in this spot, I think Atlanta's just got the better roster. Their home division rivalry. I guess I'll go with the Falcons. 27-17 feels convincing, but I feel like they would get like a late pick 6 off Bryce Young to seal the deal. I'll take Atlanta. Do I feel good about it? Not at all, but I'll take Atlanta. That's why it's called Bryson's Bleak Bet, because it's the one game each and every week that I've absolutely zero confidence in predicting. But up next is a segment that at one point had a 4-game winning streak. And we're hoping to start a new winning streak because this is going to be a fun one. It is now time for my upset of the week. Cannot wait to see this one materialize. Give me the New York Football Giants. That says 23-19. What happened? That says Packers 23, Giants 19. There's a blip in the graphics. That can be a good sign, but I do like the Giants in this game over the Green Bay Packers. Sorry for the graphics flood. My bad, guys. But I do like the Giants over Green Bay. I'll explain exactly why. Jameis Winston, that's why. All right, Jameis Winston coming in. Jackson Dart's out this week. New, interim head coach in Mike Kafka. Right, he says Russell Wilson, outside of that Dallas game, we know how bad Dallas defense is. It's been terrible. Let's give Jameis Winston, who will have his moments from time to time. Jameis Winston is this generation's Ryan Fitzpatrick. Not in that he's played for a lot of teams, although nowhere near Fitzpatrick, but the fact that you never know what you're getting based on the week. He could throw 4 touchdowns. He could throw 4 picks. He could throw for 500 yards. He could throw for 150 yards. You never know what you're going to get from Jameis Winston. You do know you're getting some great quotes from the podium. You're getting some great quotes pre-game. The iconic one, obviously, from last Thursday night in the snow against my Steelers. I remember seeing that That was when my Steelers were rolling, by the way, last year. We're going to Cleveland. We're going to beat Cleveland. And Jameis Winston does that interview with Kaylee Hartung, and I'm like, uh-oh. I think we might get the best Jameis, and sure enough, that's exactly what he showed on that snowy night in Cleveland, Ohio. He said he has a passer rating over 100 against the Green Bay Packers in his career. Green Bay has lost 2 straight games, not because of their defense. I could see this game being like a field position type of football game, where a couple of turnovers, short fields kind of decide the difference. Because if there's one thing I know, the one thing that has shocked me about this Packers offense, it's not been Jordan Love's inconsistency. It's not necessarily been Matt LaFleur's play calling. It's been how mediocre this Packers offensive line has been. This is a unit they've always drafted well in. They invest in the offseason in it. It hasn't worked. And he gets a Giants defensive line. Need I remind you once again, Burns, Abdul Carter, Dexter Lawrence, some of the best in the game. Man, Kayvon Thibodeau. I think this could be a good matchup for the Giants. Again, sorry for the score flub, but I've got the Giants winning this game. It's at Packers 23-19, but I've got the Giants 23-19 over the Green Bay Packers in my upset of the week. What do we got next? Okay, up next is my favorite segment of all time. It's the second game for
Bettin Man.
Ira Bettin Man. Divisional matchup, NFC West, and arguably the game of the week. You got the Seattle Seahawks going to Los Angeles to take on the Los Angeles Rams. The LA Rams are a 3.5-point favorite at home. This line was at 2.5 most of this week. I mean, it could change. But I wake up this morning, I'm looking, I'm like, okay, what's going to be my If I Were Bettin Man game? And the line goes up to 3.5. I'm like, okay, cha-ching, I know who I'm taking. Seattle plus 3.5. Here's why. Couple of things. Is that, well, Matt Stafford has been on a roll. And can we show, Matthew, do we have the graphic for Matthew Stafford's numbers of the last 18 games? You see it right there. He's been the best quarterback in football over the last 18 games. 40 touchdowns, 3 picks, 110 rating, and the Rams are 14-4. This includes the postseason, by the way. So Matt Stafford's on a roll. He's playing the best football of his career. With that being said, Devontae Adams, I'm concerned about that back. Non-contact injury last week against San Francisco. Year 12, kind of an old man injury. That concerns me. Against a great Seattle secondary that they bring to the table. Also, for as great as the Rams pass rush is, Seattle's got the offensive line to be able to combat that. The Rams don't, on the other hand, have the secondary to be able to combat Jackson Smith and Jigba, Rashid Shaheed, like the guys that Seattle brings to the table. So I think this is going to be a Sam Darnold versus Matthew Stafford, LA West Coast shootout. But in the end, again, kind of similar to Tampa Bay and the Buffalo Bills. Quarterback that gets the ball last wins. This could be a game we look back on and say, oh, this had a part to play in who the MVP of the league was. So therefore, I love Seattle plus 3.5. I like Seattle 2.5. I was debating whether I have this or the Bears game on If I Were a Bettin Man. I took this game because the line went up to 3.5, but I will take the Rams to win a close one in one of the most entertaining games of 2025, 30-28 in a game to decide number 1 in the NFC West. And potentially, who knows, they'll play again, obviously, later this season, could decide the number 1 seed in the NFC. But I've got the Rams in a close one, 30-28, but 3.5 is a little too many points over a team as talented top to bottom as Seattle is. 30-28, but I do like the Seahawks plus 3.5 if I were a Batman. Seahawks plus 3.5. Got another NFC West matchup. Arizona Cardinals at home against the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners on the road are 2.5-point favorites. Part of the reason for that is Brock Purdy is back from injury. That toe, they've said, is not fully healthy, but is good enough for him to get out there and play. They said he could have went last week. They wanted to play conservative, understandably so, because last time he came back against Jacksonville, he didn't look healthy, he threw picks. So that's what we got. So you can make a case, and by the way, it's a case that I will make over the course of the next little bit, that no quarterback in the entire NFL is under more pressure in Week 11 than one sturdy Brock Purdy. Because Brock Purdy, his whole thing is, well, I mean, he's putting up better numbers than Jimmy G, right? They had better, they had similar supporting cast, and Jimmy G won games, but Purdy's numbers, night and day better. Got him to a Super Bowl, got him to an NFC Championship game in which he got hurt against Philadelphia. As I've always pointed out in the show, and let's go ahead and put up the numbers. Let's go ahead and put up the list here. If we have it. Here we go. Brock Purdy, when he's got Debo, Ayuk, CMC, Kittle, Trent Williams. Obviously, Debo's no longer 49er. 29 touchdowns, 3 picks, 120 rating, 13-1 record. That one loss was Super Bowl 58 to the Kansas City Chiefs, in which Purdy was actually pretty good in that game. The problem is, without Debo, Ayuk, CMC, Kittle, Trent Williams. He's a mid quarterback. 29 touchdowns, 25 picks, 88 rating. He has an 8-14 record. And in general, when he is trailing in the second half, which I'm sure he will in this game, Arizona is a solid team and a solid defense. 8 touchdowns, 16 picks, 72 rating. When trailing in the second half of the regular season in his career. So Brock Purdy could be trailing in this game against a Cardinals defense that last week notwithstanding, they weren't very good last week against Seattle. But you got Will Johnson. You got a good pass rush. Calais Campbell, obviously. You got, what's the man's name? A defensive lineman from the SEC that they drafted. I'm forgetting his name right at the top of my head, but he debuted against Dallas, played well, came from the SEC. They're a defensive type of team. And with Brock Purdy coming back, with Mac Jones, who I've been critical of on the show, but Mac Jones wasn't playing half bad. Helped get the Niners to 6-4. They're in the postseason picture. They want to stay there. Can Brock Purdy keep them there? That remains to be seen. That won't be determined off 1 week. But will be determined is the fact that Arizona kind of struggles to close games. But Brock Purdy will give them an opportunity to close. So give me the Cardinals in a bounce-back W in an upset, 28-23 over the San Francisco 49ers. Cardinals plus 2.5 and the outright W, 28-23 over San Francisco. Again, it's nothing personal with Brock Purdy. It's just the overinflation that people have had with him because, hey, he put up cool stats in 2023 when he had an all-star team around him. When he lives the real NFL life where you've got some great players and you got some holes in your offense. Not quite the same quarterback. Up next, AFC North matchup, Baltimore Ravens coming to Cleveland to take on the Browns. The Ravens are 7.5-point favorites. So some in Vegas are like, Browns plus 7.5 might be the play here. Because the fact of the matter is these two teams faced off back in week 2 in Baltimore, and the Ravens, you look at the final score, I think it was 41-16, I think was the final score. Baltimore kind of pulled away, though, in the fourth quarter. That was a close game through the first 75% of it until the Ravens kind of woke up and said, hey, we're the Ravens, they're the Browns, we should win this game easily, and they did. Number 1, Joe Flacco was the starter in that game. Number 2, Baltimore's playing with a level of desperation now, and what they will play with the rest of the season. Their game back at Pittsburgh, but hey, we don't just want to catch Pittsburgh for the AFC North. We want decent seeding here in the AFC. Haven't lost since Lamar came back. They're on a 3-game winning streak. And for as many questions as I still have about this Ravens defense, I have no questions about Dylan Gabriel. In that I know Dylan Gabriel is a bad quarterback. He is at bottom of the league in virtually every statistical category. Touchdown to interception ratio, completion percentage, yards per attempt. He has been god-awful since he took over as a starter in Cleveland. In fact, I think this will be the game, and I said this on Monday's show. Dylan Gabriel's going to start. This is the game. In Cleveland especially, by the way. Desperate fan base. They want to see great quarterback play. Where it gets ugly early, and the Browns fans start to chant, Shador Sanders. I think you're going to see that. Will Shador play in this game? Maybe. Will he play next week against the Raiders? I think he will. So I think the Ravens win this game comfortably. I'm going to take them 33-16 to get to 500. Much to my chagrin. By the way, I hope the Browns win. I hope we're able to beat Cincinnati. Cleveland gets a win. And now we're 2 up on Baltimore. That would make me very happy as a Steelers fan. But Baltimore 33, Browns 16, and calls for Shador Sanders. It will be one of the biggest stories in the entire NFL over the course of next week. Shador Sanders getting his first start on the road against the Vegas Raiders. All right, it's now time for the final game for my favorite segment of all time. Game 3 of 3. It is simply called
Bettin Man.
If I Were a Bettin Man. I love this one. God, I love this one. I wish the point spread was a little lower, but I still love it. Kansas City Chiefs on the road in Denver, Colorado. The Chiefs against a Broncos team that has won 7 games in a row. 8-2. The Chiefs are 3.5-point favorites at 5-4. That tells you everything you need to know about how Vegas views these two teams. They view Denver as, man, amazing defense, amazing pass rush, and the big concern Kansas City should have in this game. Patrick Mahomes, I think I saw stat, he's like 27th in the league in completion percentage against pressure. I said that, Buffalo Bills fans were kind of mocking me on TikTok, like, oh, every quarterback's not good against pressure. Yeah, but for whatever reason, Mahomes and Brady, in my mind, the 2 greatest ever, they have a special kind of struggle with pressure, particularly up the middle. And that has been, something that the Denver Broncos, they mostly get pressure on the edge, but they can't get it up the middle. Alex Singleton is out for this game, but you've still got Nick Bonita. You've still got Zach Allen, who can bring pressure up the middle, and I think will completely stymie Kansas City's run game. You've got Jonathan Cooper. With that being said, let's just say it out loud. If Kansas City loses this game, they are dead for the AFC West. I still think they're going to make the playoffs. There'll be some panic. Oh, Kansas City's 500. They're going to miss the playoffs. In no universe is a prime Patrick Mahomes going to miss. But the division, they're going to be 3 games back of Denver with, basically a month and a half of the season left. They ain't catching Denver if that's the case. They know they have to win this game. And by the way, they control their fate. The AFC West, they're 2 games back of the Broncos. Guess what? They play them twice. They have to win this game. Also, too, Andy Reid off a bye. Man, this is, as I've said on my show, when it comes to betting coaches, if you bet a team because of their coach, for as much criticism as I've had of Mike Tomlin is a home dog. Boy, that is free money. That is just about a guarantee. Andy Reid off a bye, similar stuff. Back in Philly, his whole career in Kansas City. That's the guy you want to take. And so against a Broncos team that has talked a lot of smack about Kansas City, a Broncos team that has been living on the edge, a quarterback in Bo Nix who's struggling to complete 60% of his throws. Kansas City needs this game more. They will get it. If I were a Bettin Man, I love the Kansas City Chiefs minus 3.5 to get this W over the Denver Broncos, 30-20. Offense comes alive early. Denver's playing catch-up. Sure, Denver's been great playing catch-up, but Bo Nix really hasn't beaten good teams over the course of his brief career in the NFL. He's mostly fed off of, getting wins against bad squads. Kansas City is a very good team, as we all know. They'll get the W over Denver on the road, 30-20. At last, this is why I say Week 11, great game start to finish. In a game that just breaks my heart because it should have been the NFC Championship game last year, and we as fans, thanks a lot, Washington Commanders. You robbed us of a Philadelphia Eagles, Detroit Lions NFC Championship game. You robbed us of it. I don't like that one bit. It could have been really, really interesting. Nonetheless, Detroit on the road against Philadelphia. The Eagles are 2.5-point favorites, which is Vegas basically telling you, we think if these two teams played in the parking lot of Walmart, first of all, it'd be terrible for their joints. Second of all, dead even. That's about 2.5 points about what the home team gets on average, for games nowadays. So they think these two teams are even. So for Detroit, big news that came out today. Sam Laporta is going to be out for this game. So that's a big-time, third down weapon, red zone. Sam Laporta's had an excellent season. It's going to be a lot of Amon-Ra St. Brown, a lot of Jamison Williams, and a lot of, as we all know, now that Dan Campbell's calling plays, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. They're going to try and establish a run, get Jared Goff to work out of play action. Philadelphia's offense, on the other hand, it's been a water pistol over the course of this year. Through large stretches. Saquon Barkley, outside that one game against the Giants a few weeks back, hasn't gotten it going. Jalen Hurts has taken care of the football. He's been clutch. He's been great with the deep ball, but oddly, not great in the intermediate stuff. A.J. Brown is out here on video game streams on Twitch, right as we're streaming on a show on Twitch, saying, drop me on fantasy, because I'm not going to get enough targets or numbers in order to make an impact for you. If there's one team, and I said this on Wednesday, if there's one team that tends to kind of thrive off of dysfunction weirdly, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. And in a season where it looks like they've gotten a pass rush back, in large part because they made the move, the most underrated move of the deadline. I said it the day it was made. Trading for Jalen Phillips from the Miami Dolphins, who wreaked havoc on Jordan Love last week. I know it's a short week for Philly, but there's something about the bright lights, Lincoln Financial Field, Jared Goff playing in more chilly weather. Dan Campbell's going to try and establish the run early. But if Jared Goff's having to work in long down distance situations against, I know Detroit's a great line, but against an upgraded Philly pass rush, I think this could be a big time offensive performance. So I think the Eagles offense wakes up. It's a do-it-all type of game for Jalen Hurts. Philadelphia wins this game 28-20 over the Detroit Lions. Eagles minus 2.5 and win this game. Listen, I would not mind being wrong on this game. But part of the reason I didn't include this on if I were a Bettin Man is because there were 3 games, even 4 games actually, that I liked better than this one. And also, I just kind of want to sit back. All the Bleak bet, the upset of the week, if I were a Bettin Man segments, my team Pittsburgh Steelers, all those games are over. I just want to sit back and watch the 2 teams that should have been in the NFC Championship game last year. And for the record, the 2 teams that I said in the preseason would be your 2 NFC Championship representatives. All right, that is all the time we have for today's show. Appreciate everybody stopping by. Shout out to Hannah Cummings for stopping by the show to do NFL logo, logo rankings. Shout out to our big Lions fan. Hannah, I didn't pick your team. I apologize. I just think Philadelphia matches up better at home in primetime, and especially Jalen Hurts. I trust him to make the plays in the end in the fourth quarter because I think it's going to be a fourth quarter type of game. But shout out to her. Going to have the full segment on the YouTube channel tomorrow, so definitely be sure to check it out. Hope everybody has a great weekend before we get out of here. Be sure to check out, to kick off your weekend, the Saturday Morning Tailgate Podcast live on the Grid Network's YouTube channel and on X. Saturday Morning Tailgate, myself, Tim Barnard, Arthur Hurst. We'll be breaking down your college football Saturday, and it is a dandy, by the way. I've got in my phone some of the games that we'll be predicting. We're talking Iowa, USC, Notre Dame, Pitt, Oklahoma, Alabama, and Texas, Georgia. Woohoo! Cannot wait. Saturday Morning Tailgate tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific time. Check it out on the Grid Network. You're missing out if you're not tuned in because we do. I think we have a great thing going on this show. Build a lot of momentum each and every Saturday, so check it out each and every week. Top 25s. We're going to do a whole 30-minute postmortem on the College Football Playoff Committee coming out with their rankings. A lot of headlines, a lot of pushback this week as opposed to last week where there wasn't really any. So very excited to get into all of it tomorrow on the Saturday Morning Tailgate, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific time. Also, check out on a Monday, the Bryson Carver Show on 89.5 The Edge. The show airs 10 a.m. Eastern at 2 noon Eastern Standard Time on 89.5 The Edge, which is my local college radio station. If you can't find it, no worries. No worries whatsoever. It's on the TuneIn app. If you still can't find it, no worries still. I will put the link on my Instagram account in my IG stories. So just download the TuneIn app. Check out the Bryson Carver Show on 89.5 The Edge. That's Mondays from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern, and then Fridays from noon to 2 Eastern Standard Time. Have a great weekend, everybody. Please continue to stay safe out there. God bless y'all. Peace out. And Warriors, let's get another dub on the Spurs. How's that sound? Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.